When our prior motorhome was totaled just over a year ago, we were able to salvage the lithium batteries and the entire solar setup.
Now we're racing to get it installed into our new motorhome before we head out to the Arizona desert to boondock for a month.
We gave ourselves a 6-week window to be able to complete the project.
And then I went to the hospital.
And then we got back onto the project.
And then you got the flu.
And then you got the flu.
Now we've got just 10 days to get the project done before we have to hit the road.
Will we get her completed?
All we can do is try. Each year for the past 6 years, we've spent part of every winter in the boondocking capital of the world, Quartzsite, Arizona, where we meet up with RVing friends from all over the nation. But in November of 2024, our beloved motorhome was totaled. In February of last year, we purchased this 2017 Holiday Rambler Vacationer, and we've been upgrading her to make her more to our taste ever since. Fortunately, when the Alphacia motorhome was totaled, we were able to remove a lot of the equipment upgrades that we'd installed. The biggest was the solar power system and lithium batteries. Jamie installed those batteries early on, so we've been able to do some traveling. But we weren't able to do any long-term dry camping unless we wanted to run the generator a whole lot, or we needed to adapt the Salvaged solar system for this new coach. So, at the start of December, Jamie was ready to get her done. Here's the entire step-by-step process the solar panel install involved.
Today we're going to cut up our pieces for making the brackets for our solar panels for mounting them down on the roof. I'm going to be using this Strut channel. I like the Strut channel because it makes it nice and easy. And when we did it on the Alpha, the brackets were only 4-inch long. I'm going to do a foot. That way I'll be able to put 3 screws in there and hold it down to the roof really nicely. I'm going to use VHB tape and the screws for holding this down to the roof. A lot of people will use the whole length so that they can move their solar panels back and forth. I'm not going to really do that because the way our roof is situated, I'm going to only have 5 panels on one side of the RV and another panel on the opposite side. Because of the way the roof's laid out, there's not enough room to put them on both sides of the RV because how the air conditioning and some of the other things on the roof are on there. So I'm going to be cutting pieces that are 1 foot long and then some pieces that are 2 foot long because those are going to be where the panels are butting up to each other. So let's go ahead and get started on cutting these out. So I have one cut. I need 8 that are 1 foot long and then 8 that are 2 foot long. So I'm just going to proceed on and get those all cut up and then I'll show you the next step. While I was cutting, I was using regular work gloves and the sparks were burning through the work gloves. So what I ended up doing was going and picking up some welding gloves. So these will make it so that the sparks won't burn through anything. Okay, so we got 8 of each cut out, 8 1-footers, 8 2-footers. Now what I need to do is change this wheel out from a cutoff wheel to a grinding wheel. Because what I want to do is I want to go around the edges to get rid of any burrs or anything like that. So 1, it won't cut into the roof, and 2, if I'm working around it, I don't want to get cut by any sharp stuff. What I'm doing is I'm getting rid of all the sharp edges. If you look on the inside here, you can see there's that sharp edge. So what I'm doing with the file is I'm getting rid of that. But on the outside, I'm hitting it with the grinder, getting rid of that stuff too. And then when you grind it, it leaves a little bit of an edge. So then I hit that with the file too, just so it's all nice and smooth. Because you're putting it on your roof, and you don't want it cutting into your roof or anything like that. And you don't want to cut your hands when you're up there working with it. So. Okay, so we have them all cut, we have them all deburred, took all the sharp edges off of them. Next step, what I'm going to do, I'm going to paint them white to match the roof, and then also the brackets. I have the initial struts, the little metal pieces for when you tilt the solar panel up, and those are white. So I want everything to kind of match. What I am going to do is I'm going to not paint the bottom side, because I want to leave that because I want to be able to put my VHB tape on there and get good adhesion. So I don't want paint being in the way. So I'm just going to paint the sides and in here. So that's going to be the next step. We're going to get them all painted up, and then we'll go on from there. Now that I have all my pieces cut, I'm going to spray paint them all white, one to protect the metal, but two to match the top of the roof. The paint that I'm using is the Rust-Oleum high performance enamel. The thing with this paint is, though, when you spray your first coat, if you're going to do any other coats after that, you have to do them within an hour or wait till after 48 hours. If you do it anytime after the first hour, the paint's going to crinkle up. So what I do is I set it for 30 minutes and then come out and do my second and third coats. I'm going to do a total of 3 coats. Now that we have all the strut channel painted, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to spray paint my L brackets that are going to hold the solar panels down. So we're going to go ahead and get those sprayed. Now the next step, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put VHB tape on all of my strut channel, the pieces that I cut up. So I'm just going to go on each individual one. I've already cleaned them. So I'm just going to go and put VHB tape on each of them. Then once I'm ready to place them where I want them to be, then I'll pull this strip out and then hook them on top of the roof. I just finished doing all the 1 foot pieces. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start working on the 2 foot pieces. Now that I have my VHB tape on all of my strut channel pieces, next step is I got to go up and mark where I want those to go. Where my L brackets sit, I want them to be in a certain position based on the solar panel. So these ones are the longer ones are going to straddle 2 solar panels, and then the short ones are just going to be on the ends of those runs. So I need to go up on the roof and determine from the edge of the RV how far over I want the solar panels to sit. And the other thing I need to figure out is, because the way my brackets work, where the bolts go in aren't necessarily right on the edge. They're in about, 5 inches or so. So I need to mark figure out on the top of the RV where that's going to go. So these are sitting in the right place, so that when my panel tilts up, these will be in the correct place. So I brought this strut channel up here to use as a guide to measure to where I want, how close to the edge I want my solar panels to be. But being that our roof, it goes black right here. So being that I have that straight edge, I'm going to use that for guiding my panels going backwards. So I'm going to go 1.5 inches off that, where that black line is, because that's where the roof is actually flat. It's still curving right here, but it's flat the rest of the way. And then that'll still give me enough room to be able to get past here if I need to for any reason. There's not going to be any panels on that side, so I have all that to be able to access and move around. So I'm going to have my panel basically start right where this is at, and then in between each panel is going to be 6 inches right here between this is a piece that I cut out that's the same size as the panel to use as a template to figure out where everything has to go.
Jamie knows from experience that taking the time to measure everything carefully now saves a lot of headaches later. Once he understands the entire roof layout, he knows exactly where each part of this solar system can go, and more importantly, where it can't. Once the layout is mapped out, every decision after this gets easier, from mounting the panels to running the wiring.
Okay, so I'm starting to put down the strut channel.
These strut channels are what actually carry the weight of the solar panels, both while we're driving and when we're parked off-grid. Each panel attaches to 4 of them, so placing these correctly is critical. Once they're attached, everything else, the brackets, the panels, all of it depends on these being exactly where they need to be. It's one of those steps where taking a little extra time now means trusting the system later when we're relying on it out boondocking. Getting the roof clean is critical before these strut channels go down. VHB tape is only as good as the surface it's sticking to. Jamie uses Sprayway glass cleaner because it removes residue without leaving anything behind, and it's inexpensive as well. Less than $5 for 2 cans on Amazon right now. There's a link here and in the video description for it. Almost 10 days have passed since we completed the install of the strut channels. Both of us ended up with the flu, and it really wiped us out. And to add to that, I'm still having vertigo, so I will not be climbing up on the roof to film. This means Jamie will not only be thinking about the install and sharing the step-by-step with you, he'll also be setting up and moving the camera around while I control it remotely from the ground. So right now he's trying to figure out the best way to get it up there when he doesn't have a helper today. We thought he was going to use some kind of pulley system, but I guess not. We've got just 12 days to complete the project before we head out to Quartzsite, hopefully with a functioning solar power system.
So now that I got the solar panel up here, what I'm going to do is before I screw all these, the Unistrut down, the strut channel, I want to make sure that where I have it lined up is going to work out the way I want it to work out. So I'm going to take this solar panel and kind of walk down the roof to make sure it's going to line up the way I want it to line up. So of course the first one's fine because has to be, but it's these following ones I want to make sure that they're gonna work out okay. Yeah, so everything's lining up good. I got it set so that between each panel there'll be 6 inches, so that it'll give me access for putting my risers on there.
If I put them too close, then I won't be able to get my hand in there and anything. So I left 6 inches between each panel to be able to get in there and access that. So far everything looks good. All right, so I know the first 2 are good. I'm going to continue on just to make sure everything looks okay. And that one looks good. And that one looks good. So we should be okay. So I went up there and I want to show you the screws that I bought actually come with a washer attached to the screw. But the problem is on the strut channel, you can see where you run your screws through. That's actually bigger than the washer. You see if you can see this. The washer actually slides right through that slot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some fender washers and put those in there and then screw these down. That way it's going to secure that correctly. All right, so heading to Lowe's. This is our first trip of the day. So I'm back from Lowe's. I got my fender washers. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to screw down. We used VHB tape to hold them into place, but I'm not going to rely on the VHB tape to keep it on the roof. I'm actually going to put in some screws. One thing I do want to say about screws, when we did the Alpha, the screws that we used were a very fine thread, and I had one of the brackets actually pull out because you're just going into a thin piece of plywood and then the roofing material. With a fine screw, it's going to pull out. So what I did is I got these roofing screws. They're specifically made for roofing material, and they're a very coarse thread, so it's going to hold a lot better. It's going to be a lot harder to pull it out than it was those fine thread screws. So I'm going to go ahead and get these, start putting these in, and then once we're done with that, obviously we got to put Dicor over top of it. So what I'm doing is I'm putting one towards the one end, and then the other one will be on the other end. And I'm just going to start it with the drill motor. I'm going to actually finish it with because I don't want to strip it out. Okay, so now I've moved to my longer struts here. On these I'm going to use 3, so I'm going to use 1 on each end and one in the middle. So those ones are done. Next step is just continue on. I'm going to go do the same thing on the next ones. All right, so this is the last set of strut channel that I have to screw down. So I'm going to get these ones in, and then after that I got to put Dicor over all of those screws so we don't have any water penetration into the roof area. Okay, that's it.
After securing the strut channels with VHB tape, Jamie adds a few coarse thread roofing screws for extra strength. But anytime you put a screw into an RV roof, sealing it properly is critical. That's where the Dicor self-leveling lap sealant comes in. It flows around the screws and creates a watertight seal, making sure moisture has no path into the roof. There are a lot of steps in a project like this, but this is the second motorhome these same solar panels have been installed on. And along the way, Jamie's learned a few things that help everything hold up long term.
So what I did is I make sure that I get a good coverage on the Dicor. And like I said, I wanted it to come off of the edge onto the roof. That'll help with holding it down as well. And I did that everywhere that I've done so far. And you can see the Dicor is already leveling out, so it works out really nice. Okay, so our Dicor is pretty well set up. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run a bead along these seams on both sides. 1, to make it waterproof, but 2, to also help it hold down the strut channel as well. And I'm not using Dicor, I'm actually using the Sikaflex 715. It's got really good adhesion. So I wanted to use that instead of the Dicor because the Dicor really levels out quite a bit. This levels out, but it's a little bit thicker, so it'll stay nice in these areas here. So now that I have the Sikaflex all applied, normally I would let that all cure, but being that we're kind of in a time crunch, I'm just going to be careful working around it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up my L brackets and start mounting my solar panels. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount my L brackets to the solar panel, and then once I have all 4 of those on, I'll put it over where I want it to be. Now on my L brackets, what I did was, because it's got a slot, I don't want my solar panel going up and down. I want it towards the top. So I got these rubber washers that have a 1/4-inch hole that goes through the center of it. And what I did was I put a bolt with a lock nut through there with a couple of these rubber washers. That way when I go to put this on there, it'll stay up towards the top.
Since rescuing these panels from the totaled Alpha motorhome, they've been gathering dust. It's starting to come full circle though, from that horrible day until now. Watching Jamie bring them up onto the RV's roof is really satisfying.
And the reason why I'm using these like thumb screws is because when the solar panel is laying flat, you keep them tight. So I want to be able to loosen those when I go to raise my solar panels up.
Once these L brackets are on, the panels are ready once again to be mounted and complete their transition to our new traveling home on wheels.
Okay, so now that I got all my L brackets on there, what I'm going to be using, that's the beauty of Strut channel, is I have these nuts, and these nuts now they slide into place and I can move them to wherever I want them to be. So that's the unique thing about Strut channel. You slide your nut on there, and then you just put your bolt through there, and then you just tighten it down like you normally would.
While I was putting up the solar panels, I realized I only got flat washers. I want lock washers. That way nothing's going to move back on me with all the vibration. So today, first trip to Lowe's to get some 3/8 lock washers.
All right, I'm back from Lowe's. I got my 3/8 lock washers, and then I got a flat washer. So then I'm gonna go ahead and put that in here. And I want the lock washer on there because there's gonna be a lot of vibration. So that way it won't work itself loose. Okay, so that's all nice and tight. And I just need to work myself down around and get all these put on here. All right, so we got the first solar panel mounted, nice and secure. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up another solar panel. So how I have these planned out is I wanted 6 inches between the panels. So what I'm doing now is measuring to make sure I got it in the right spot.
So these were already pre-wired because these were the salvage panels from the RV that was totaled. So now he's numbering all the stuff so he doesn't have to completely rewire it from scratch. And then he's going to disconnect some of it so that it's easier to get it up on the roof, and then he'll reconnect it, and hopefully everything will still work. We're still racing against the clock to get our salvage solar system onto this RV before we head out to Quartzsite in just 9 days now. Today is all about mounting and securing the panels. Even when we get all of this part done, we still have to get it wired up and hope the system works.
I just finished putting the last panel up. It's all mounted now. So all 6 panels are now on the roof, and it feels like a huge accomplishment, but it doesn't mean anything yet until we actually get it all wired up and make sure that it's all working correctly. Will this salvage solar system actually work once we have it all wired?
Or did we just spend weeks racing the clock for nothing?
We'll find out on the next episode of Roaming with Rosie.
That's a wrap, roamers. If these adventures and tips are keeping you inspired, subscribe and watch another one. Your next RV tip or destination is just a click away.